We are going to, we're basically gonna, I hate to even say I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna gut this rear end. It's hard for me to even talk about it because this is like one of my favorite things about this boat, and it's still in mint condition. These three hatches are going to come off. They're going to go in the trash. I'm going to cut the framing. I'm going to cut this box in half. I'm going to remove these pole holders. Bottom line is, this is all the space I have for batteries, and I've got to fit this bad boy in there to run this ePropulsion Navy 3.0 electric outboard, equivalent to 6 horsepower. So yeah, guys, that's kind of the dilemma I have. So let's get to it. Hey guys, Anthony Jones here with the Top Gun Jumbo, and welcome to the rear end rebuild. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, in case you've been living under a rock and you don't follow me on Instagram or social media, or didn't see my last YouTube video about the ePropulsion Navy 3.0 electric outboard and the partnership that I have with the good folks at ePropulsion, this is what I'm going to be running on both of my John boat builds. Obviously, that build's at a standstill right now. While this boat was sitting, I was actually hoping to be getting this so I can mock up this setup into this instead of having to deal with what I'm going to do here and alter a bunch of stuff. But it's all good in the hood. Again, it's a bittersweet moment because, you know, I've got a lot of work into this rear end. It's all molded in and it's beautiful. We're going to make way for this big boy battery. I'm going to run this battery for a while. ePropulsion, they have a new battery come out that's an E series. The big deal with the newer batteries are not only are they half the cost of this unit, but they deliver more power. They are going to offer a few different sizes, and I just want to make room for anything I can stick back here. All right, so you can see right off the bat, guys, kind of my issue. So you can kind of see this battery is kind of like a Honda Civic. And that's kind of like a brand new Tesla. We want to get the Tesla into this parking space. And the only way that I can figure out how to do that is just cut up the rear end. So we're going to cut the framing here. We're going to cut this stow in half. I'm going to try to do it in the boat with a Dremel Multi Max tool. And I'm just going to take you guys along for the ride. Hoping I can split this hatch and pop out the one side, leave the other side molded in place. That'll give me room to drop in my new framing, put a new divider, remold it, reattach it, repaint it. And then I'll just have what is essentially like a small day box over here and a small day box over here. I use the back of the boat as my primary source for my tackle. All that means is I'm going to just have to move this junk up front. We come in with new hatches, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of little details. Yeah, it's probably not going to be fun. I've got about 3.5 weeks to get this done before my first tournament. Best case scenario is this thing is better than what it was. I got a few ideas, but I'm not promising you guys anything at this point. Obviously going to start by removing the struts. Then we'll work on getting the hatches off. Then from there, we'll just start getting into cutting. Struts are off. Center hatch off. These guys are actually riveted to my kind of my beefed up hinge system that I did. I'm going to throw this over here. One quick tip, guys, with these struts, if you have them and you can't figure out how to get them back off, that little clip there, you just pry that down. And I actually use a paint lid remover, so or paint opener, whatever the heck this is called. I'm going to drill the rivets out and go ahead and pop these other two hatches off. Oh, and all my parts, I'm just throwing in this old bucket for now, like so. See, that just pops it off. See? It's all going to come out, removing the lights. The wiring actually goes up, under, and around. And then there's a bunch of wiring that's going through these aluminum channels and back and around. and then up front to where all my wiring ties into my Blue Sea Systems fuse box. Electronics got to come out too. So I'm just gonna start on one side first. I think it'll calm my nerves a little bit. I've kind of figured a good place to cut is gonna be right here where this pole holder is. I'm gonna lose this altogether. I never really used it. I for some reason thought it would be cool. It's just something I've never used. So we're gonna remove this all together. And what I envision is my framing locking in kind of here and then going across. So I've kind of leveled down, maybe a mark across the bottom and back up. And what I did was I pulled measurements, and it ended up being about 6 inches from here to here and about 6 inches from here to here. I know when I built this box, it was symmetrical. So therefore, when I pull these measurements and they're all the same, then I know that this line is where it needs to be. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting. I'm gonna be using this is a Dremel Multi Max MM35 multi-tool. It's got the blade on it. This tool is great for precise cutting. I'm hoping if I've got the skill set, I can actually cut this as a straight line, and that'll save me work later. That honestly was not as bad as I thought it would be. I think I'm going to go ahead and continue to use the Multi Max. I'm going to cut the framing here, do the same thing over here, cut it here, and then I'll just try to cut some of the seams and just pop this out. When I do this other side, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because there's wires running behind there, and I want to make sure when I cut through like this, I don't cut through a bunch of wires. I actually decided to go with the old Ryobi reciprocating saw using a bimetal blade. I forgot that this framing's got some screws in here somewhere tying stuff together, and that Multi Max is more precise, but this will get the job done if I hit any metal. Oh, come on. Ah! Goodness gracious. All right. Okay. That wasn't so bad. I forgot that I had I'd recessed screws into my framing and then filled them in my Bondo. I'm gonna have to relocate this. I want the hose to go back this way and then over and then back in. Another problem is this transom support bracket. Yeah, that's gonna be in the way too. So I don't know what to tell you guys about that. As bad as it looks, that went pretty smooth. I just got to do that on this side. And honestly, because of all that wiring, I may have to cut this one in a whole bunch of pieces and just get it out of there piece by piece. It's like 1:30 a.m. on a Tuesday night. I think I'm gonna get some shut-eye. Now I know what I got to do over here and just get some rest and repeat. This is the part I removed from the hatch, and you can see this is the underside here, and you can see no rot, no water damage, no nothing. Everything is still good. Long story short, this thing is 100% structurally sound. There's no wood rot, there's no moisture, mildew, nothing. This boat is good to go. The only reason I'm doing this is to accommodate this awesome system from ePropulsion. I'll definitely have more room to work now. I'm going to go ahead and remove these covers for some of my wiring, and then go ahead and detach some of my wiring up here that I have ran with clips. What do you think? Daddy? Yes. Same deal over here as to what I did over here. My framing is going to go where these pole holders are. So again, I pulled off 6 inches, made a line, leveled down, went across, went up, made sure that was 6 inches, obviously connected the dots. When I get to cutting, we're going to have a little bit of a problem because all of these wires go behind this. There's a hollow area under this framing, and then back that way to all my electronics. I want to make sure I don't go through too aggressively and cut a bunch of wires
Obviously it can be fixed, but I'd like to not do that. Now, if these get cut or nicked, I could live with that, but the one I can't live with is this one here. This one is actually for my transducer for my depth finder. And I may even cut it out in sections as opposed to just cutting it out in 1/2 piece like I did this one. Come on. Oh, come on. Come on, baby. Oh, there we go. There we go. And this is all the wiring I was talking about. See how that's was stuffed back in this channel? Looks like everything's good to go, man. Oh. I'm at Home Depot. I've ventured out into COVID-19 world to get one stick of Western red cedar, rough cut. As you can see the texture, this is what we're going to take home and rip up to use on the rear end rebuild of the Top Gun Jumbo boat. Also need to get some more plywood to build new hatches for that rear deck. 11/32 a sheet is what I'm going to go with. This is what I used in the original build of the Top Gun Jumbo. Pretty thin stuff, guys, but I'm just matching what's already in there. Again, I'm going to put a runner underneath the hatches to give it more support. Let me walk you through what I have envisioned for my frame. Just like the way I framed up front, I'm going to replicate that in the back. So that 1/2 inch board is going to go all the way to the floor. It's going to notch over this rib, and it's going to sit on the floor, and then the framing is going to sit on that. So actually, this hatch divider will actually be structural. So instead of just running it under my framing, I'm going to notch my framing to accept that that 1/2 inch plywood. I'm going to go ahead and rip the cedar, and you'll see what I'm talking about as I rip that part. I got my new framing for the rear end of the boat all notched, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch notch. That's going to accept my 1/2 inch plywood. That's going to make up the missing section of that rear stow compartment, but also add to the structural integrity because I'm going to run that 1/2 inch all the way through to the bottom of the boat. You'll see as I move forward exactly why I did this and how it's all going to come together. Got some goodies in from Amazon today. Another box of the heat shrink wrap tubing with the glue inside of it that I've recommended on my channel when I did my wiring job. This is something I have not used before, but these are the solder seal connectors. They're just basically connectors that are solder inside, and you just heat them up with a heat gun, guys. So I have not used these, but definitely want to give these a shot. I think what I'm going to do is, with all this wiring where it's running to all my accessories, I think I'm going to go to where my connections are that I originally did and just cut them. I could build everything, and then I'll come back in and reconnect everything with my new solder connectors, and then obviously the heat shrink wrap that I used in the past, because this stuff works great, so we're not changing that. I don't know how I ever built this boat in the first place without the Dremel Multi Max. My brother-in-law actually got this for me for Christmas, so thanks, Scott. It's enabled me to make these precise cuts to cut this hatch in half. This thing makes a nice cut through the foam instead of trying to hack it up with a razor knife. In the future, when I do foam, I'm going to use this to cut foam as well. I highly recommend the Dremel Multi Max. The one I have, this is the MM35. Again, I got this as a gift, and I don't know how I did any of this crap without it.